Hey, I'm Daniel. Welcome back to the Lip News. Today's special guest is Peter Parros. He's a veteran actor. He's been in many shows, including Knight Rider, As the World Turns, and a new show on OWN Network, Tyler Perry's Have and Have Nots. Peter, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me, Daniel.
So I'm super excited to have you. This show, Have and Have Nots, is exploding.
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about how you got to where you are now.
Okay.
But first, I wanted to show the Lip audience a little bit of a taste of what you're capable of, because you've become pretty seasoned. I'd like to roll a recent clip. I don't think you've seen this one yet.
Okay. Let's check it out then.
Let's check it out.
Why are you just sitting there?
You have Jeffrey's car?
Yes, I do.
Where is it?
It's safe.
The hell are you doing?
I don't like your tone.
I don't like these antics of yours. This is serious, Veronica.
And do you think I'm not?
You're why he was talking to those girls. You're blackmailing him, threatening him with his car.
Yes, David. I am.
What did you say to him?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. This is my son.
For the last time, he is our son.
Well, you're not acting like it.
I will not hear this.
Damn it, you are going to hear this.
You will not speak to me that way.
You have had his car all this time,
Would
Veronica.
you keep your voice down? You know the steps.
I don't care. Where is it?
I am not telling you. Now get out and talk to me when you calm down. Hey, but you're hurting me.
There's no pressure on your arm. Where is it?
I'm not telling you. Now let me go.
I don't know who you are.
Awesome.
Already.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was the first time you saw that, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel? Is it weird looking at yourself?
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes.
It's interesting to see how the scenes actually play out and how it comes
Right.
together. Because sometimes it may feel good, but you don't know necessarily how it's going to come across on camera.
Exactly.
But no, I'm happy with it.
Well, here's the thing I wanted to point out, and for anyone who hasn't seen the show, I think this is something that's very unique. First of all, this show is really carrying the OWN network at this point.
Yeah, it's
Don't be
one of
modest.
it's the highest. It has become the highest rated show on the network in the history of the network.
That's something to
so
be.
That's a pretty big thing and great to be proud of. They have a lot of other great programming, but yeah, we are the hit. We are the OWN hit.
And that's awesome. And
Yes.
you know, to be fair, this isn't really a criticism from me, but a lot of people were scared that OWN wasn't going to work out.
Right. Yeah, it was certainly the partnership with Tyler Perry Studios and Oprah Winfrey Network has been huge with our show, and Love Thy Neighbor for Better or Worse. Our show has been definitely the big hit on the show, but I think it's something that people had never seen for the network. It was the first scripted show for the network and Tyler Perry's first drama. So I think between those two things happening, and I think it's a great show. I think, it's brought a lot of people to the network, definitely.
Well, one thing that we were talking about just shortly before we rolled is that this show, like a lot of Tyler's work that he's doing now, it touches on things that are personal, that we think about, that we deal with and we struggle with in our everyday lives. We're scared to talk about because it's very easy to get judged. Right? What was happening in that scene?
Well, that scene is about my son. Our character's son has just come out that he's gay. And previous to that, my wife was setting it up like my character, David, would not be accepting of it. And Veronica was trying to be like, you know, don't let your father find out, or no, be this way. Then when he actually came out, it turns out that she was actually the one with the problem. And his thing was, I love you, you're my son. I love you, I accept you no matter what. You are who you are, you're my son. And so now there's all these, she's continued to try to manipulate him, refusing to accept it. His car was used in a hit and run accident, and now she's holding the car. And he wasn't driving. Wyatt, Jim Cryer's, I'm running for political office And my partner, John Schneider, who plays Jim Kreider, is running for governor. I'm running for lieutenant governor. His son Wyatt actually took my son's car and had this accident. So now she has the car, wow. And it's blackmail. It's very complicated, but so that's kind of the background to the story there. But his thing is, we have to protect our family. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there, and I think that it's written in a way where people can actually relate to that.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting the way that the characters, I think pretty much all the characters are written, they're written very human to me. Yeah. So when I first started doing the show, I was like, oh, he's like a good guy, and then I was like, wait, or is he a bad guy? Or wait, now okay, he's kind of a good guy, but is he driven or is he, what is it? He's just human. He has what he's after. And sometimes there are choices that people make that aren't the most ethical choices always. But I think that's how people are in life. People are very conflicted. Sometimes you're doing very great and positive things, and sometimes you're doing things that aren't necessarily viewed as super positive. And I think that's how people relate to the characters, because it's not, oh, he's a good guy, he's always going to do the good thing, or she's a bad girl, so she's always going to do the bad thing. You never know, like what the motivation is. So it's good.
No, I think that's awesome, and I want to come back to haves and have-nots,
okay.
But I also want to bring it back just a step and talk about you, because this is a big show, and it's great to be on something that's powerful and that's pushing your career forward, as well as driving a big network.
Right.
But what I'm really curious to know is, how did this all start? Did you always know that you wanted to be an actor?
No, actually, I started out.
That young guy.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy?
Yeah, that was actually during As the World Turns days that was done. But it started out. I thought I was going to be a dental technician, which is what my dad did. Yeah, and had even started going to school after high school for dental technology, and I ended up getting a small part-time job initially, working for a company that did miniatures for movies. It was like a summer job, and then writing for a magazine that they had about model building, because I write as well. And kind of from that was exposed to, we did a couple series, I think called Project UFO. It's Brick Price Movie Miniatures was the company, and we built the spaceships for that show. And then we did the hand props for the first Star Trek movie. And then we decided to do a magazine called Special Effects Modeler about how miniatures were used in movies. This was all before CGI and all that. So it was miniatures and animatronics and different things like that, stop motion animation. And it became really interesting to me, much more interesting. I'd go and I'd be interviewing these people about these films or watching these big action films, and then I'd go to school and work with my dad and sit in a room and make teeth. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I can do this for the next 30, 40 years. And I have a cousin that is an actor that was in a theater company in Hollywood, a place called American Theater Arts that doesn't exist now. And they have an acting conservatory. They had 2 theater spaces. They were a 99-seat theater and a 60-seat theater. And I said, I want to act. And they said, okay, well, come in, audition to get into the thing. I've never done anything before. I just want to be in it. So they let me into the company, or into the conservatory, I should say, first. And it was scene study classes and classical scene study, voice, movement, mime. They had all kinds of stuff going on there. And that was sort of the transition sort of away from dental technology and into this entertainment world that was so much more interesting to me. And
well, that's why it's entertaining.
Yes, and that's why it's called entertainment.
I think most people have this misconception that it's 2 ways as an actor. Either you're struggling to make it and you never quite get there, or they see someone like you on TV. You had almost a 10-year run on As the World Turns, which is a pretty big soap opera.
Right.
So they'll see someone who appears to have made it, and they'll think it's one or the other. They'll assume that either you're struggling and you'll always be a starving artist, or you make it big. Is that a misconception?
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated.
What is a working actor like? Not every actor is Brad Pitt. Not every actor is a scene study partner. So like,
right.
what's the life of a working actor like?
Well, it's interesting because I was very fortunate to have a very long run working, support a family, everything, and I'm kind of a non-name sort of face where a lot of people will come up to me and then be like, "Where did you go to school? I know you from, what's your name? What do you," rarely do they ask, "What do I do?" But usually it's like, "Well, where did you go to school? I know you from somewhere." So I've been in that realm sort of for a long time.
Does that bother you?
No, not really. I think I would like to have done more film work. But because I've done mostly television, if you're watching that show or that channel, you know who I am.
Yeah.
If you're not watching that, or I had started out doing a lot of commercial work from theater, people would know the face from commercials, or they'd be like, "Oh, you're the Excedrin guy," or something like that. So they would know that, but they wouldn't necessarily know the name. It's like a lot of people on commercials, I think, you see the face, but you don't necessarily know the name. It's different from film work, where a lot of times people are more associated with the actor name because the character is constantly changing.
Right.
So even when I was doing, say, As the World Turns, people would go like, "Oh, Ben, you're Ben." They wouldn't necessarily know my real name. Same thing with Knight Rider.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Oh, RC, hey, you decided this RC, blah, blah, blah." But they wouldn't be like, "Oh, it's Peter Parros," like you might say with a film. Like you might go, "Oh, it's Denzel Washington."
Right.
You wouldn't associate him with one particular role. So I think that's part of what has contributed to it. But I've been very fortunate, and to go kind of back to your question, I think there is a range of people depending on what you do. Like I have a nephew that's becoming an actor, just graduated from UCLA Theater, and he's very into theater. So the theater lifestyle is very different from a film and television lifestyle. And I think that's more the starving artist kind of sense, or really we have in the contemporary world the idea of a movie star or whatever, but traditionally actors are really kind of like gypsies, doing stage plays. You travel here, you're with road, you're doing a show for several months in different cities, a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there, a couple weeks there if you're touring. If you're somewhere say in New York, you might be doing off-Broadway and doing whatever else it is that's supporting you. For me, when I got into it, I was involved in a theater company, and there were actors who I thought were extremely talented, and they loved theater. But I think because of the way that I came into it, I was more interested in movies or being a working actor, getting paid, basically.
Yeah, let's be honest. Can we just be real here?
Getting paid.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a conversation with my dad. My dad said to me, because I was frustrated at one point about not working more, and he was like, "What's the matter? You want to act? If you want to act, act. Get your friends together, rent a space, put up a play, whatever." And I thought about that for a couple of days, and I was like, I don't just want to act. I want to get paid to act.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a different kind of path when you say, I want to develop my craft to a point, not just for the love of it,
that's
but
sustainable.
To support me
Yeah.
as a lifestyle. And so there are different things you have to do in terms of just the business side, getting an agent that's going to get you out there, and certain simple things like pictures and different things at that time, contacting, casting people. And
well, talk to me a little bit about so, as a working actor, someone who's in this to get paid, and let's be honest, there are the actors who say, "Hey, I'm in this for the craft, and whatever I have to suffer through, I'm going to do it because I love my craft." And then there are people who love acting, but they want to actually live their lives too and make decent money.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is there a psychological difference, or maybe perhaps sacrifices you have to make as someone who'd rather actually make a living at this? Is there a sacrifice you have to make? Are there choices what are the choices that differ?
Well, it's like I say, because it's so different. One, you have to decide whether you just want to travel and do shows. So there are some people who say, I don't want to travel. So that television, I think, helps you be more sort of firmly based. I think doing daytime, at the time, I wanted to work in New York. I was born in Brooklyn. I started in the industry out of California, and I wanted to go work back east, and I wanted to have a job. So when the opportunity came to do daytime on the East Coast, that was something good for me. At the time, my kids were really young, and just in terms of family life, that's probably one of the best kind of jobs to have, because the
It's
hours
like a 9 to
are
5,
relative. Yeah.
but it's
Yeah,
acting.
yeah. So it's very close that time. So depending on whether you're single or married, I think is going to impact you. A lot of people love theater and say they might do a little film work or television work for the money, but they're not really into it. What they want to do is sort of the craft. Theater is more imagination, where you can do a lot more in a space and the audience enters into that dark room, that little box, and you can take their imagination places that you can't with film and television. Film and television, I think, is much more literal in terms of what the audience sees, and they associate you more with that character. Something that happened, say for me, that talk about choices in terms of roles that you do. Knight Rider was my big break. And after that, this was like back in 85. 86, I did a film called Death Before Dishonor, and it was shot in Israel. Cool. And so I was there, we were shot in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Got there to Tel Aviv, turn on the TV, and there I am on television on Knight Rider, speaking German. and it was like a great experience. And then on the same side, I'm going, wow, this image is going all over the world. And this image is, for lack of a better word, forever.
Yeah.
Which is very different than work that I would do in theater. There are things, and I realized then that there are things I would do in theater that I wouldn't do in film.
Such as?
Just certain kind of roles, I think.
Because no one will have to see them again?
Yeah, because in my experience where I grew up, a lot of people never knew black people except what they saw on television and film.
Interesting.
So I'm like, okay, do I want to put that out there sort of without context for certain people to see?
Interesting.
And do I want to be associated with this story, this kind of story forever? There are certain things that I do for the work or for the experience or growth in theater that would be hard to do in film. And it's interesting, too, something else that impacted me later, South Africa. A visit to South Africa just after apartheid ended. And the only images that they had, the media was censored. So they would only see like the negative pictures of black, the subservient images, slave image, servant images of black people. That's all they had. Then after apartheid ended, they got this flood of BET kind of hip hop.
Americanized.
Yeah, Americanized, you know, just degrading, a lot of stuff, images I feel are degrading to women and blacks and different things. That kind of music video stuff and a lot of negative. So they went from sort of, we're just servants to, okay, to make it is to be a rapper or a basketball player.
Yeah.
So I want the range of who we are as black people, I think is huge, and I want to show something different. I think that's kind of, we talked a little, that's what's great about with the haves and the have-nots, to have whatever our issues are, a power couple, a black power couple, family like we are, I think is something that is rarely seen on television, a generational family like that. And so that's something that when the opportunity came, I said, I want to be a part of that and putting that different kind of image, other than something sort of quote unquote stereotypical that people have seen over and over.
Yeah, and to be honest, you know, I think as a community, we've seen all the other stuff before. It's time to see something different.
Yes.
I'm a little curious. in terms of the process of getting some of these big breaks, so you had Knight Rider, that was a big break. I'd say that As the World Turns is a big break, and it was a long running show.
Right.
I'd say this is another big break. I'm curious, how do these things come about? So I know for you, it's part of your career. Actors are both entrepreneurs and entertainers at heart, right. So you're always hustling. But I think that many people don't understand maybe some of the inner work that goes into making some of these things happen. So for instance, a lot of times in the acting industry, as with other industries, it's about networking with people, making choices that lead to bigger windfalls over time. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the events that led up to some of your big breaks and how you were able to make those things happen for yourself? It's not luck.
Yeah, no, I think there's a balance of work and grace in there. Some of it is, you have a team of people that agents, managers, publicists, all those that help sort of get you out there or make you aware, the public aware of who you are. And depending on the level of awareness that you want, or the kind of image that you want to put out there, you sort of work that. For me, early on, it was important to get with a good agent that would get me out there and get
No, I want to stop you right there.
So,
how does that even, as a young actor looking at this, how does that even happen? Showcases?
At that time, I didn't have a resume, so I got into what they call agent showcases, where you have a scene that you prepare, and you might have 10 different scenes with 2 people in each scene, and an agent comes in that evening and they watch the work and they see what you're doing, and they may or may not be interested and call you in.
Did you study for months? Did you
I
study for months?
I started with American Theater Arts, where I studied there probably, I think it was 2.5 years.
Wow.
Before I felt I was ready to get an agent.
Interesting.
So yeah.
People think that you just happens overnight. You just show up.
No. Actually, let me take that back. I got a commercial agent pretty quickly, maybe about a year into it. I got a commercial agent, and it took longer to get a theatrical agent, because commercially part of it is just off of your look, and
exactly.
It's not as much craft.
You look like you like Excedrin.
So, it's a little different, and even there's a special technique that's the commercial audition technique.
Yeah.
That's different from theater audition technique. That's
even the headshots look
television.
different. I mean,
Well, it's theater is broader. Commercial is even a little broader than, say, like a dramatic show. You have to study the different styles, like a sitcom, especially back then, which was 3-camera sitcom, was very different than a hour-long film drama show. So everything has its own style. Theater has its style, whether it's drama or farce or whatever it is that you're playing. So a big part of sort of the learning of it is knowing what it is you're auditioning for and how to audition. And when you talk about that connection, your audition isn't just reading the scene, it's your connection with whoever's in the room. First off, the casting directors, where over time they were casting directors that were fans of my work.
Interesting.
That even though I wouldn't necessarily get the first part, the first time I auditioned I wouldn't get the part, they would keep calling me back for the show. So it might be
I want to dig
the
into
fourth
that.
time that I auditioned for that show is actually the time that I get the part, not the first time I auditioned.
Is that how it happened with As the World Turns, or no?
No, As the World Turns was an interesting story, and it's I'd actually gone to New York to do One Life to Live, and had been on there for a 1.5 years, and had an experience where, another side of me is the Christian side in terms of types of roles I'll do, and there was a storyline where they were dealing with my fiance becoming a drug addict, ultimately a heroin addict, and I didn't feel I didn't like the way they were handling it. In my head, they weren't handling it what I felt was responsibly. It wasn't a story I was pleased with. I tried to talk to the producers a bit, and I ended up thinking I was pretty popular. I said, no, either of you guys are going to rewrite this or recast this, because I'm not happy.
Okay, no, hold on.
Then,
and they're like, Recast.
And they were like, yeah, about a couple weeks later, my character went on a fellowship to London.
Lower myself down. Oh, they put you on a fellowship.
Yeah, they sent me away. I was gone. I was like,
well, okay, but that was a risky move.
So yeah, so here's the thing with that. Here's an interesting
Big
part
stuff.
of that story. So when I was gone from there, I kind of said, in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to do daytime anymore, because I didn't like the fact that you don't know where they're going to go with the story.
Right.
So you come in, and actually I auditioned for a different character. You come in and think it's going to go this way, and then a year down the line, you're getting a different set of writers or a different producer, because the producer change and writers change, and suddenly you're going a whole nother way. Well, somebody had given me a word about restoration, and basically what happened is when the opportunity came to audition for As the World Turns, I had stayed out there because I had leased a house for a year, so I had time to stay. And I wasn't going to do it until I got the audition scene. And the audition scene, the character is he's a neurosurgeon, and the lady's saying, "Oh, is there anything that can be done beside this surgery?" Because I'm like one of only a few people in the country that could do this surgery. My character goes, "Do you believe in God?" And she says, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, why not pray to God and ask him for strength to come through and stand by your husband and make it through this?" She says, "Is that what you do, pray?" He said, "Every time I start a surgical procedure, I pray and I thank God that he gave me the gifts and talents to help heal people." And I was like, ooh, well, maybe I could do
This is in line with...
I could do, yeah, I could do this.
Now, watch a year down the road, he's like a drug dealer.
So yeah, so this was the thing though. Then I went in and they were interested in me, and I met with the executive producer and I said, "Hey, you know what? I would really love to do this character, but I just came out of a really bad experience, and so I want you to know what I'm about. And if this is really going to be a Christian character, not doing anything super crazy, I mean, it's drama. You're going to have stuff that happens drama, but I'm on. I would like to be here. I'd like to be a part of this." So we came to an agreement, and I was on the show for whatever it was, about
almost
8
10 years.
Yeah.
Well, what I like most about that story is that you see a progression. You see, okay, I'm deciding that I want to make this plunge into acting. I'm deciding that I want to become a working actor, not just a play actor, someone who's just doing it for the craft. It's probably for both. I'm getting a small break here with Knight Rider. I'm working my way up to get a bigger break with daytime. Now I'm getting even bigger breaks with own stuff. And I think you're right. It's a combination of craft and grace. But I also think that from the outside, a lot of people see your successes and they'll say, well, he got lucky, or, he was in the right place at the right time, or even that he's the best actor around. But it's a combination of things.
Yeah, and I've had seasons of work and non-work. After Knight Rider, I did a show called Adam 12, a remake of Adam 12. And that show I got because producer Burton Armus, a producer from Knight Rider, wanted me on that show. So that helped me get into that show. Like I say, most of the work that I've done, I just audition for, and maybe I'll have casting people that know me, or people are familiar with my work from something else, and then they'll call me in and audition. I've never just been handed a part. Even with the haves and the have-nots, it's a role that I auditioned for. So that's it. And there's something else too that I think I've learned over time. There was an opportunity to do a show with Robert Conrad from Wild Wild West. It's a show called High Mountain Rangers. And I used to love Wild Wild West. I wanted to work with him so bad, and I let the agent I had at the time talk me out of doing it because he felt it was after Knight Rider. He felt they weren't going to pay me enough.
Yeah.
And I've always regretted that. So my thing became it's not about the money. Like, don't make it about the money. If there's a role that I want to do and there's work there, it's about the work. It's about putting it out there. And enough of it comes around. The industry can kind of tweak your mind about how much is enough, relative to how much somebody else is making, or daytime actors versus primetime actors, or primetime versus feature films, how many millions or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. It's still, you know, we're paid well to do something that we love doing. So.
Well, I think it's exceptionally fascinating that people have kind of gotten a little bit of an insight into what you do on a day-to-day, and I think that most people from the outside think it looks like magic, but from what I understand, it's
there's a lot of hard work, and like I say, there's seasons where you don't work, and there's, you know, I write as well. There's things you have to have other than acting. This one producer told me that as an actor, he was like, you know, there's like a totem pole, and then there's like heads on the totem pole, and then there's the last head right here. Well, actors are just below that.
I think that's a great place. I think that's a great. Well, okay, so
we're tools for everybody else.
I think that's a great place to. I think for the audience to hear from you. Let's say I'm a beginning actor or an entertainer, and I want to get started in something that I love, but also get paid to do it. What's one good piece of advice you can give to an up-and-coming entertainer?
Just do the work. Commit to doing the work. People talk about it, but they don't necessarily get out and do the work, whether it's, and by the work I mean classes, whatever classes to hone your craft, because you have to be your best. I won't say the best, I'll say your best, because everybody brings something unique to a role, and you have to know what your unique thing is. So do the work that way, get your pictures, get the best representation that you can get, and just have your mind about increasing every opportunity, getting every opportunity. And every opportunity beginning, I did like a lot of student films, stuff to get people to come see my work, or opportunities for people to see what I could do that weren't necessarily big paying or paying at all opportunities. But you've got to get the experience. You've got to learn what it is you're doing. Nobody would, in any other business or craft, people understand, and it is a craft, people understand that you have to practice, you have to work at it, and over time you improve. And that's all it is, getting out there and doing it and doing it and doing it, and soon people will see value in what you have to offer, and they'll pay you to do it once they see you bring that value.
That's great, Peter. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for all the viewers at home, you know, I think one of the most impressive things about Hollywood is that it seems from afar very magical. But as you can see, for a working actor, even someone like Peter who's doing such a great job and actually doing incredible, you know, big shows, it's a step-by-step process. So do you have something that you're working on that maybe you could be putting a little bit more time into, maybe something that you need to be doing the work on? What is it? Leave a comment below. And as always, I'm Daniel. Thanks for being here on The Lip News.